here we are. You can actually see the giant ark in the background. Holy moly. The thing's actually kind of huge.
800 feet, turn left.
Grab a 20 from there.
Okay. 100? Well, just ain't it.
You will die.
That is pretty huge.
I can't see it yet, so.
Well, they do know how to make grandiose structures.
Out of wood.
Turn left.
I guess
the navigation.
I guess the young Earth creationists are good for something, I suppose.
Josh is sitting there biting his tongue.
I don't see it yet. What do you mean you don't see the giant? I don't see it.
Well, I know if there's ever a flood, that's my best bet.
Did you shut the navigation off?
Yeah.
We don't need that anymore because he's going to keep telling us to do this stupid things.
Now take 7 left.
All right, and where's that 20? Thank you.
Let's see if this will.
Sky's nice, clear, and blue.
And the weather's still the humidity's not bad.
No. Just don't go to Louisville. It sucks.
Well, we were also there on a Sunday.
And here's the
What? Are they busing you down to the Ark?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can walk down.
I agree. We can walk down. I don't want
It's an
to.
option.
I don't want to be crowded in a bus with a bunch of young Earth creationists drooling over dinosaurs being in the Ark.
Well, Josh, I'm pretty sure we have all sects of Christianity coming here, and probably even some Jews. Case in point.
No, Jews aren't interested in creation. Jews aren't interested in Christian attractions like this. I can't even begin to tell you how indifferent the Jewish world is to something like this. Even though you think they'd be the most excited, they'd be
Or
like,
just to be like, let's see it. Why not?
Okay, so it is recording.
most Jews view Christians that do this kind of stuff as being like actual weird fundamentalists that like
Heretic.
well, no, like it makes them feel uncomfortable, if anything.
Was my phone charging it that whole time? By
Yeah.
Please. Was it?
Yeah. Why is it not
Yeah, it wasn't charging.
Why it was heating up like a son of a bitch.
Yeah, it wasn't charging. Good to know.
Alright, so we just got our tickets, $83 for the combo. Very cool. For your safety,
They might actually check us.
all bags and personnel are subject to search.
That's it.
Proper attire is required, smoking is allowed, no weapons. So, I'm not allowed in, I'm a weapon, unfortunately. So we're just gonna have to sort of, mosey our way down. On a secondary note, interesting thing to note, and just, get it on camera. The name Mzara appears on their, menu, or at least menu.
Zara?
Menu includes, yeah, for a family dining thing. It's right there.
That might be something to be looking into.
I already know what it is, Jake.
What is it?
Zara is Noah's wife, according to the Book of Jubilees, an Enochian text found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. So that's interesting.
Hey, they got ice cream.
It's not just any old ice cream, buddy boy. It's creationist ice cream.
Even better.
Nothing like ice cream that's been created, I guess.
You missed the velociraptors in the cage.
Oh, we'll have plenty of raptors to deal with.
He might have to be carried out. Josh, you okay? Oh, fine.
So, I assume that means, theologically speaking, whoever runs this answers in Genesis. I've heard of them. I don't know why I'm reading that as if I've read that for the first time. I can only assume that means that Answers in Genesis goes with the Enochian version of Genesis, which includes the fallen angels, I'm not sure whether or not they would subscribe to the Michael Heiser dead Nephilim equals demon hypothesis / interpretation. Although I personally do subscribe to that. Sounds like the most reasonable outcome. We'll find out though, I guess. So you can't actually walk there. You've got to take a bus, which is fine and all. I just I hate crowded places, so.
Thank y'all for coming. Sorry, I didn't mean to send you to the end of the world.
It's alright, it's whatever. It happens. Happens to me more frequently. Ugh. Alright, so what's that building? Welcome to the Answers Center. Ooh, alright. Do we enter here first?
Oh, Anthony. Yes. I found the answer to our question. I was just listening to that lady. So we can
this looks to just be like a general center. That ought to be a good idea. I agree with him.
better stop recording.
Alright. Yeah, he's an excited guy. Alright, so I guess the whole thing starts here. The first thing I noticed when we were running up on the bus is this rainbow.
There you go.
The traditional translation or interpretation is that the rainbow is a result of God's covenant. Of course, it has the verse right there, 9:13. So that's why that rainbow's there. So,
Alright, we should be good.
contrary to popular belief, not really an LGBT symbol. Though I suppose it could be, if you wanted it to be. Now here's the unfortunate part. My dad wanted me to get a perspective shot of this, and the reality of it is that that's just not possible.
It's just massive.
So, yeah, it's too big.
It's just massive.
You're just gonna have to deal with it, guy. It's just too big. I don't even, he's like, I want you to have someone stand next to it and get a picture of it.
Okay.
I'm like,
Sure.
sure, bud, I'll try. No, you'll do it. Oh, okay, cool. Look how big it is. You won't be able to see you.
Yeah, it's ginormous.
Ever? Oh.
I'm right here.
I took a picture.
It's like, holy cow. Alright. Well, imagine.
We get ready to go into it.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right, so we want to start off with the main course then. Yeah? Cool.
More for the kids. Yeah. We want the cheese and butter and the beef. Hey, is there a possible I can get drunk off my ass as a novel? Oh, there's a section for that. Don't you worry. Monument Walk. No, so they're gonna build a Tower of Babel. They're gonna build like what a city looked like. And,
Like a city.
pre-flop city? No, they're gonna do after, I think.
Could you imagine it's a 3-ring city?
Yeah, Josh said that.
I'd be like,
I got
guys,
it
I'm
now.
suddenly a young Earth creationist.
Oh, the library. Yeah. Freaking cicadas. Creation of man.
Not a recreation of anything, it's something they made. Which is still cool. Bird cage. We want to take a look at this a tad bit longer.
That's awesome.
This is not based off of anything.
No, it's not like they found a tablet like this.
I just hear you.
Although I'll tell you what, if they did, that would like change everything.
If they did, you'd see Josh donating money.
If they ever did find a tablet like that, it would result in setting everything on fire.
Why would that be?
Because of how the academic paradigm behaves. you get a lot of people in mainstream historian circles who are like, well, you know, texts only go so far back. And technically that's true. We only have copies of the Torah that go so far back. So again, you can't really speculate on whether or not it pre-exists the oldest date we have it. So if you were to find something like that, it would be crazy for them. Another bird cage.
Maybe the cat got in there.
Maybe. Oh,
You know, you're good.
so I don't know why,
They're definitely building more.
but a lot of people get like nervous when I start talking about how Noah had to have been a shipwright versus a carpenter. It's like, why are you so attached to the carpenter theory? I can't even fit this all in my camera.
Massive.
So
It's absolutely massive. Oh, boys, he did put his money.
yeah, so here's a 600th year happened, Lamech. Yeah, see, so the interesting part here is that reference to Imzera there. There's only one sub-biblical text that refers to her, and it's the Book of Jubilees, and part of the Enochian tradition, so... No.
It says 7 days ago, Lord.
Yeah, I know it says that, but to enter it.
So I can imagine Anthony, something like this took a little bit of
Yeah, I mean, you know,
determination's a hell of a thing, but it took a little bit of time.
well, first you've got to cut the wood, then you've got to
Size it up.
size it up, measure it, get all the bolts, which requires metal working.
If they even used bolts, they could have used wooden pegs.
Yeah.
And not well, they probably used wooden pegs to shape them to the pegs. Yeah. Yeah, there's the right tree, the structure length. But then again, back during that time, no, still would need. Well, no, of course you need certain ramifications, but it could have been easier acquirable. Like it could have been probably, yeah. Like I said,
Oh, hey, look, little accoutrements all around. That's cool. Yeah.
that they kept building as.
So that's probably the most interesting part about this construction, right? They made the Ark.
And then they made.
They opened it up just for that, and then they've been building around it ever since. Again, interesting decision. No, absolutely not. Not pit. No. No, but we don't want a picture if that's fine. Cool, thank you. Alright, so, sounds wise.
At least they
Certainly some nice artwork. Very nice artwork.
don't stick your hand in there.
What happens if I do stick my hand in there?
Yeah, that's what you
So, well, what this is all basically saying is that there's some artistic license. That's all. Which should probably go without saying, to be perfectly honest. I mean, because, you know, in reality, you actually read the book of Genesis and there's no actual details. Like, it doesn't say it had a fin on the back. Or, like... Right. So, you know, it's got some interpretation to it, just like anything else. Right. Nah, there's nothing here. It's just the front of the back. We're all the way in the back. No, we're all the way in the front. Yeah, we're all the way in the front. So, yeah, there's that. Now, I'll tell you what would be wild, right? If you're inside this Ark and it just starts shaking because they've designed it to do so, that would be pretty fun. Probably make people panic, though, so... Guys?
We're a giant wooden ship in the ocean. On normal warships in the 17th and 18th century, very minimum flyers on board.
Right. Well, here we've got what I can only assume is like water and food pots. There's some form of disagreement as to how long the flood actually lasted. Particularly difficult when you consider that the word 40 in Hebrew suggests a long time and not literally 40. So some people say it lasted for a year, others say it lasted for a little less than a year.
ושאפתי לכבד אותך נאמנה, בכל מה שעשית. בשיפוט חיי העולם, לפני שנפתח, יכול לנו לשרת אותך נאמנה, לכל. ואלוהים שבשמיים, אנו מבקשים את רחמך, בסופה נוראית זו. רק עלי לבנות ספינה, לשמר את משפחתי, את החיות שלי. ושאפתי לכבד אותך נאמנה.
I half expected him to be saying it in English, and he's not. Yeah, it's pretty good. Couple hard pronunciations where it shouldn't be, but not bad. Hebrew culture, there's no difference between a briar and an altar. They're the same thing. They're the same thing. So, take your pick.
Sarah said it, YouTube.
Asking the hard questions, whether or not the guy bought bugs aboard. Anthony, let's go check this out. Severely inflated, that being based on evolutionary assumption that living creatures have been going extinct. Where did my party go? Oh. Guys, you start over here. Looks to be Dimetrodon. Incidentally, not a lizard. Totally a mammal. Get a good look at this guy.
They did their homework. I'm going across right there. Okay.
Well, I mean, so these guys should have feathers, which means we're going with featherless. Acceptable. A lot of people don't like the feather. I get it. It's, yeah, pterosaurs. Really cool looking regardless. Could you imagine that thing flying at you, Jake?
Nope, I peed.
It's coming to get you and your lunch money.
Yep, nope. There'd just be a pile of doo-doo. I tried to smell rotten. 7 to 14. Each flying creature in the area, other Bible statements, something there.
Yeah, it's difficult to translate that word. It's kind of like the difference between clan and people. If you read Exodus in Hebrew, you can either read it as 111 clans in each tribe, or you could read it as 1,100,000 people. And that means the difference between a couple thousand people leaving Egypt and a couple million people leaving Egypt. So interpreting any text from biblical Hebrew is incredibly difficult. So that's why you've got a variety of translations across all of English, because one Hebrew word can convey several different English words. The example I like to tell people is worker and slave. You know, your employees. Theoretically speaking, they're actually the exact same word, but the context of the sentence is what determines whether or not it's read as slave or employee. So it's quirks like that in the Hebrew language that make the English version really hard to sort of convey one-to-one what the Hebrew text is trying to say. So where have you been? I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't survive, seeing as to how most of the flood would have been fresh water.
That's what it kind of says there.
Yeah. Well, they have different reasons for that, though.
Yeah, and they're saying pretty much it was less salty than the ocean's known.
Well, I'd like to see the proof for that.
Well, that's their argument without much. The other one is the same puts them down below in the holds. Probably has ballast.
What creatures we got going on this end? Oh.
Well, we're just on the bottom floor, boys.
Yeah. Up to 85 kinds of dinosaur. What? Don't question. Right, so in my conversations with my dad, since he and I are on opposite spectrums of this, he told me exactly what they're saying here. This is baby versions of these animals came aboard. And then they grew up later, which, you know, alright, fair. I'll give you that one. Well, what animals are there?
I don't know.
Because I didn't get to see them. I was just,
Go up there, no one will know where we are. Some know you're working on.
Well, hey now, those are cool. Got deers with antlers and pig. Sloth kind.
So that's a pretty ingenious thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, there are some things here that are well thought out. Like, oh, what about these tiny lizards? Well, you put them in these pots, buddy.
This is all
That's how.
artistic representation.
Yeah, of course, like I said, and it says that at the beginning. Or, like, you know, there's... Right.
Yeah, no, the amount of supplies that we need to sustain are massive. Those are actual bats.
Yeah, I got little bats hanging from the top there. Are they real though, Jake?
Yeah, they're real. They're real bats, I think.
I don't know. They don't look real.
Well, it says don't touch. This area's under surveillance. But, maybe they're not. I don't know.
Cute nonetheless.
It's cool though.
Remember, we need these two locations to sort of last us out, so...
Come on now. We're just in one section.
So these are all the people who, like... Donated?
Yeah, it cost them $100 million. Yeah. The model. What a model. I think that's so crazy they used all wood.
It's just a model of what we're inside.
That's cool. Building the wall.
So seems like they also talk about evolution after the animal born. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
No, it seems like they are.
Well, they've got a couple of yeah, they've got a couple of gray answers for a number of those issues.
Well, they want to try that too.
I would say that the biggest problem right now is that you see all these creatures, right, that died supposedly millions of years ago, and I only say supposedly just because I don't want some rando here confronting us. I saw her too. But we see them appear on the geological record as that, so you'd have to assume they all got off the Ark and then died. And it's like, would you really like to believe that? I don't know. Call me the skeptic, but I'm just a little skeptical.
So that makes sense though, why we were able to walk in.
What?
So Kentucky lifted all mass stuff on June 11th.
They just did it.
Yeah.
Like us.
Well, so we got here right when they did it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So they just did it. So it's all yeah. So that's why you can walk along. Okay. That makes sense.
Right, so normally when I teach this section, what I'll do is I'll divide the book of Genesis into two definitive parts. There's Genesis 1 through 11, which is sort of like history, the prologue, and then there's Genesis 12 through 50, which is the history of Israel's patriarchs. And they really are two different stories put into one. Nice artistic stuff here.
Yeah, the artwork is fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, dude, there's no shortage of great artists in the in the movement. I actually like this one the most.
It's nice.
Sorry about that, man. I didn't see that you were.
Yeah. There's no big surprises there. Most academics pretty much do agree. Genesis 1 through 11 is pretty much separated from the rest of Genesis. They tell two different stories. Well, one that comes after the other or before the other, yada yada. Shortcut to theater, line through exhibit. Yeah, there's no one left, Anthony. If you go with the hyper-literal, there's no one left. There's only 8 people. I guess the gentlemen in my party are not with me.
I wonder if they had this in a gift shop as a book.
There is a book
With all the artists.
yes, so it's an animated animated Bible or something.
So what a lot of people don't get upon first reading, and this is still a matter of debate, God doesn't actually kick them out of the garden because of the sin. He curses them, that's true, but then he's like, oh no, they're gonna live forever and like be shamed forever, so I've gotta kick them out so that way they'll actually die.
I never actually like looked at it that way. That was like the first time I heard either like a sermon on it or just someone saying like even from like your parents' like Adam and Eve first and there was a sacrifice like the first
Cain murders Abel. Let's see. I'm not sure if I would count Civilization as a descent into the dark, but sure.
I always heard the interpretation more so Civilization was our best choice to kind of get back to...
Yeah. This polygamy one's actually kind of funny. I wonder how they feel about a certain guy named Abraham, had 3 wives. See, now, it would have been better if they had just said Nephilim. But, artistic interpretation, for sure. Imagine a godless world full of sorrow, full of disease, full of bloodshed. I mean, we kind of already... Alright, now that's just cool. So here we've got like a gladiator type ring, only instead of a lion it's a Carnotaurus, which is just awesome, actually. Could you imagine you're in a ring and that thing comes after you?
Like, oh, I'm dead.
I'd be like, oh man.
And he has a little knife.
Yeah, oh.
What does he expect to do with that? Okay.
That's unfortunate.
Artwork's amazing.
I mean, hey, you want to know what? Abusive creation, funny, right? They incorporate the dinosaurs in a far more interesting manner than I anticipated.
So they supposed to represent Sodom and Gomorrah now?
Huh? No.
Not yet?
No, not yet. That doesn't even happen until way after. That's probably not going to be on here. Appeal to some snake god. Sure. The pre-flood world was exceedingly wicked in our sins. And then boom. The flood happened. I think it was this one. There we got a tiny little alligator. And I guess this guy evolved into all types of alligators. The hyena kind, which, alright. These guys are not alive anymore.
They look like mole rats.
Yeah, well, they're a type of mole rat, but far more aggressive than their modern counterparts.
Everything on Earth will perish. That's what he told me. He told me
Is that a saber tooth or a massive skull? What is that?
Let's see. Thylacosamid, the kind. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Saber tooth. Oh, they resemble saber tooth cats.
The Coelosaur kind. Heck yeah. I don't remember when these got off the ark. Well, I ain't a kid, so...
yes.
This is just like a fake interview.
There will be.
Alright.
Finish these sheep, that's what you're asking.
You don't know what kind of irks me? The whole presumed extinct. Every one of these, it's more on this one, right? Got the status presumed extinct. Well, that would imply you're under the impression that they're not, and that we just presume it. Boy, you interested in going to the kids area, Anthony? No.
You want to let you make it last, Josh?
Yeah. So you want to make it last? You gotta go through every area.
We're not doing that. Get out of here. Rhinoceros, kind, 4 living genera.
Josh, that's cool.
No, it's not. Yeah, Anthony. You're correct. That's exactly what they're doing.
Oh, they did do it.
What?
It's like a sort of pseudo version of evolution, where it's like one thing, soft evolution. Sure. And that's
It's Kitty.
it's technically true. That does happen in today's world, but it's a little more complex than that. Interesting.
So few kinds.
They are using salt.
Yeah, well, one of the things I always... Creation show, not evolution of
That's
one.
like the most.
Well, yeah, I mean, but this all squished together is the theory of evolution.
Just another house.
Right.
This Darwin is right there. As I said.
I mean, that's basically what happens. It's called speciation. Okay, let's see. Life spontaneously came from non-life and an unintended natural phenomena. Yes and no. That's not really what they'll tell you. I mean, that's what a lot of the atheists will tell you, though. So I'll give you that one. Well, it was descended from a common ancestor at least 3.5 billion years ago. 3.5 billion? That doesn't sound right. I figured last I checked it was 700 million. It was a Cambrian explosion. I could be wrong.
Unless you're talking about mammals.
I'm wrong. Yeah. No, I'm wrong.
For mammals, then I think that's correct.
Yeah, it would be 3.5 billion years. Changes that animals undergo are purely undirected natural phenomena.
What's funny is it's basically two ways of saying the same thing when put together.
Well, it's not really undirected phenomena, I would say. It's more
Well, it
on-
comes down to which of the three opinions are you going with? Full-blown atheist, spiritualist, or
Well, there's no like in the middle, which is
No,
odd.
spiritualist is one of the ones where you believe.
Well, it's not here.
What I'm saying is, you put the two together, you get the spiritualist.
It's like the reading between the lines.
Well, so this isn't an undirected natural phenomena. What happens is you have a surrounding, and you adapt to that surrounding. So it's not undirected at all.
What the other one is? You can
Animal
argue
changes in a completely different kind of animal modifications potentially are unlimited. No. The short changes over the amount of time are what we call micro species. And eventually, sure, you'll drift apart, but that's not true at all. Modifications eventually result in entirely new structures. Not really. Again, slowly morphing. 1 million years, yeah, whatever. Not really going for the million years anyway, so. Yeah.
The Archean kinds?
Well, that's because Archaeopteryx isn't its own kind. It was a species that was part of another species.
Where'd that thing?
He's over there. Spinosaur kind.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, where's the fin? Tyrannosaur kind. See, what they need to do is replace this with animatronics. Bring this place to life. Put some animatronics in here. Find anything cool in here, Anthony?
It's just cool ideas of how they do it.
Oh, right, the feeding stuff. Yeah, this is interesting.
I still find it interesting this is all made out of wood.
Well, obviously the pots are made out of clay.
No. I mean, they built the structure like they did their damnedest to do this.
See, now this is the interesting stuff that I would suggest is like well thought out.
Well, the only thing with that is, I would say you kind of want to go lower because it's higher up in the house. You gotta be careful with the valves. That's all I'm
So
saying.
there must have been a bunch of pipes
Yeah.
all over the place, which leads to.
Well, it's a logical conclusion, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, well, you know, if you gotta maintain it for heavy turbulence and rain, it's got to be able to regulate all of that, and obviously you're going to use that to produce water and stuff. We've got him using it. Oh, he moved away. He's got him using a little elephant to like power the thing.
Oh, that's clever.
I'll give credit where credit's due. The water waste management's well thought out. Now, of course, this isn't conveyed anywhere in the text, but I don't have to tell you for the 5th time.
You want to be careful with that valve. Probably about that more bring the water up. The higher up, the more unstable the ship design can become. The other part is to see it. We need to take the model of this ship design and see how well it is empty and then how you balance it all out.
Well, any way you slice it, these guys had to be quite knowledgeable of what they were doing.
Yes. No. Clearly right now.
Well, this is why I've always argued. Oh, we're not following you again.
He had to really know his shit.
Well, this is why I continually argue in classes that.
Oh, I see. That's pushing as the water comes up, it's pushing
Air.
and it sucks it in. It's like a piston almost.
Yeah. It's clever.
Okay. That's such a neat.
Ventilation. That's clever.
Yeah. That's quite clever.
This is why I continuously argue in my classes that.
You guys probably like this.
Sorry, I lost. This is why I continuously argue in my circles that Noah had to have been a shipwright.
Yeah, he has to know this.
There's no way a non-shipwright wouldn't have been able to have known any of this.
Prepared for any of it.
Or prepared for any of it. So, but that begs the question, if he was a shipwright... Yeah, but that would beg the question that if he were a shipwright, how did he know how to build ships? He had to have had some pre-established knowledge, or he had to have been part of a civilization that knew how to do all that.
Compton?
Sure, Jake. Compton. Noah was from Compton, straight out of Compton. more dinosaurs. Really selling themselves on the bingo, dino DNA.
I need to warn my children and their children after them what can happen if they do not follow the Creator and His ways.
I wonder if archaeologists ever found stuff like that.
No.
That's my question is. Even with like the Greek.
Like I said, that would be insane.
To my writing.
If they found something like that, it would change everything. You know, and it'd be cool. It'd be really cool if they did. This one is on Methuselah, who's Noah's grandfather, Lamech his father. It was actually really funny.
What was the world like before the flood? Ah, good question.
There's a really.
When I was a young
okay,
boy,
he's gotta talk then.
much of the world was beautiful, and many people still love.
I don't have it with me, but if you get a list of the numbers of the guys who lived
the
and how long they
generations that
lived,
followed grew extremely corrupt.
Methuselah
Violent.
and Lamech's
The world
numbers
became such a
are
dreadful
a number
place.
divisible by 5 plus 7 and a number divisible by 5, 7 plus 7. So it's a play on the 7s being used in the genealogies later on.
I wonder what that dates back to.
The archaeologists discovered the Elba tablets revealed that some of Noah's close descendants utilized a sophisticated writing system. I mean, we've known about sophisticated writing systems that go back a very long time.
When did it date to that tablet?
Well, somebody get out their phone and who isn't recording and check it out.
$4,700. No.
These guys were quite jacked.
Oh yeah, you'd have to have been. So according to all the pre-flood literature we have, from rabbinic texts to or post. I can't. Okay, cool. Texts. Tubal Cain was the first guy to like work metal and stuff. Oh, hey, look! Speaking of which... This is telling you exactly what I just said, Jake. The enormous task of building the Ark and carrying the animals likely required a variety of skills, such as crops, animal husbandry, woodworking, metal ship. See, this is what I'm talking about. It says woodworking and not shipwriting.
Well, you gotta look at this.
A couple of missing puzzle pieces in regards to interpretation. It's not really their fault, it's a stigma Again, a lot of people like to think that he was a carpenter. It's a rather bizarre assertion to make, seeing as how he's famous for building a ship. No, please, you can go. Go through.
Where he was trying to apprentice shipwright, he learned by something shipbuilding, eventually married his daughter of his
Oi, Jake. Anthony. Where are we going here, friend?
Keep going. I'm also trying to get out of the way here. Very hard.
the book.
About all different, all different children's books on the Ark.
Literature.
Yeah. Not really sure how to feel about that.
That's all this.
So this is the door. Like, you know, if you go around, you see the door. A little section on the problem of evil. That's nice. That's what I was trying to say, Jake. Imagine if all the animals were animatronics too.
That'd be cool.
Oi, Jake. Swing. These little stores. I think they had those on the Ark.
Of course they had braziers. Come on now.
So then more than 8 people survived. I knew it. I knew it. No. Is there any particular reason why this group is heading in the opposite direction? Well, I'm gonna have to disappoint my father for a second time today. He asked me to go hunt down someone to talk to on this. And it doesn't appear as though they have anyone ready to talk. Oh, hold up. Well, let's get a good frame of this one. Yeah. So it's bigger than like 3 or 4 planes. I'm not sure if comparing it to the Sphinx is a good, like,
Well, what else would you want to use?
metric. Yes, actually. So I decided to look into that whole Noah's Ark was a pyramid theory. It's a load of nonsense. It's like found in not even sub-biblical texts. Put that into another one of big lies from ancient aliens. That's what we call foreshadowing on the next video I'm making. How many foreshadows am I gonna squeeze into this vacation video, guys? Yeah, how many videos am I gonna foreshadow and not actually do? Well, the spirit science one's taken forever to make. It's a 1-hour video, and I'm sitting down and responding to every second of it, so my video is gonna be like 4 hours. I just get exhausted just thinking about it. And then the ancient aliens ones. Got a nice thing of... It's alright. Go. You can go. This handsome gentleman over here, too.
Actually, we're blocking your way. Now you got it.
Thank you. I'm perfectly fine with it. Nice little thing of Hebrew script here.
Yeah, that's Genesis chapter 6. In Hebrew.
Just the entire thing? No, okay.
Just pieces of it.
Right. Alright. And if you actually look at a Torah scroll, they don't have any of these dots or dashes. But what they will have, and this is only something that they'll really teach in Messianic circles, is they have like little crowns on each letter too, and they're called thorns. So over 40 different writers. It might actually have a little more than 40 writers, but that's alright. It's up for debate. Holds key to life and eternity, sure, fulfilled prophecies. I'm gonna do a video on that. That's what we call foreshadowing. Yeah, this is nice. It's nice. Oh, you see, that's like a PDF that I have.
Is it?
That's what we call inter-video foreshadowing. It's something we're gonna look at later. Can we guess what it is, folks? Join us in bringing the Bible to life. It's talking about the organization Answers in Genesis. Well, yeah, because this place is still under construction. Well, they're still going to do that whole Tower of Babel thing, which is going to be cool. Alright, we want to go around? Yeah, of course we're going through it. Psh, come on. Now, I don't know where they got these names from. It doesn't give a reference for what text they're using to determine the names of Shem, Ham, and Japhet's wives. I know where Imzera comes from, though. I'll have to look into that. Because I know that in the same text that says that Imzara was Noah's wife, it gives like 2 long names for Japhet and Shem's wife. So And it doesn't even bother mentioning hams for whatever reason. And it's not that, unless they've decided to sort of like compress them. So that's an interesting choice at the read up further on that. I mean, there's more artistic license here, but you know.
Where you fill out all the space like it would be a ship, rather than have just exhibits. Why don't you fill a room with an exhibit?
Yeah, it doesn't even say where she. There we go.
This is a very big space for quarters.
Well, I mean, Noah wasn't a soldier.
I know, but when you can't name a construction,
I take it this is who? This is Japhet and Reyna.
Yeah, it says it right there.
Like I said, I don't know where they got that name from. What's this you got here?
oven.
Oven.
The only thing is, I would say this would be at the base, more down at the base of the hole, and you wouldn't have wood, you would have brick around the bottom.
Well, why at the base? Heat rises. I'd want it at the top where it
Heavy.
can't get out of control.
Ballast. You start losing your.
Well, how heavy is this?
It can get quite heavy. Also, you want the fire down below. Because the other thing is, you're going to run rough seas with the fire.
Yeah, I don't know. I think.
Look, I'm ship construction, and then come back to me.
You're right.
I've actually studied.
Well, the physics of it doesn't sound right. It's a huge multi-purpose kitchen. This is a huge ship.
It'd be top heavy. You start putting stuff like this on the top deck, you start getting a little more top heavy.
Well, if this were the only thing up here, I wouldn't think that it is. And not to mention, if this is the living quarters.
The other part of it is, as I said, what I would like to see who this is really to pack it up like an actual ark with less exhibits.
Some dresser here. I can only assume that this is Ham and his wife, which, spicy to say the least. The legend is that Ham is the father of the Africans. How, interesting. How interesting. Spicy, as I like to put it. I think the word spicy describes it a lot better. It's an ancient loom. It's pretty much what they look like, so nothing to really say here.
I've heard that before. For a vegetarian.
Well, I think the notion is that meat eating is bad, which, I mean, I think we've had this conversation before, but we have omnivore teeth. We don't have plant-eating teeth. So even if it were a command, which I'm skeptical of, for a number of reasons too. It's not like a definitive singular reason. Where's Anthony?
Could be farther ahead.
Could he?
Yeah, sure.
He is. Just an example of a living quarter. That's cool. Now, whether or not you agree with it fundamentally, you can't deny how great of a construction this is. So, this is where a lot of the nitty-gritty comes in here, because a lot of the young creationists say that there's only two forms, uniformitarianism and catastrophism. And if you take a geology class, they'll describe like 5 different versions. And it's because it's a work in progress. Most geologists are not uniformitarians. They're catastrophic uniformitarianists. So they'll say that things were formed rapidly, and then they'll say some things weren't. It's dependent on context of discovery. This isn't really evidence of flooding on Mars. This is evidence of rivers. You see the river erosion, river bed. If this were a flood, you wouldn't even have this bank here. So, I mean, scientific consensus is surely biased, but it's not that biased. It's a little... So, like I said, their vehicle for how the flood started is very different from what you would get if you talked to an old Earth creationist about it, because they've got to make it happen like that. Which, again, you know, if that's how you want to interpret it, that's how you interpret it. I can't stop you from doing that. Yeah. Meanwhile, the old Earthers will tell you about the Younger Dryas, which is what I'll do. Be like, yeah, you look at the geological record. 9,600 years ago, we get something like this happening. Now, what I wish they would do is show a map of the Earth before it happened, because we know a lot of to how it happened, or what it looked like. And here's another one I can't deal with. So the Himalayan mountain range is being created by India smacking into it. And they suggest that this happens fast. Which it did. I mean, the only thing I would say is, just as an open criticism, is that if that were happening fast, why don't we see it happening now? You'd think that it would keep going. Now, this is a famous discovery that they used to suggest that the buildup of uniformitarian layers can't be accurate. And I would say back that it doesn't really account for how these layers occur. But sure, it's an anomaly in a sea of non-anomalies. So, yeah. What they don't talk about, and I'll never get it, is that they'll just be like, well, this entire canyon was formed by the flood. And you'll note here how it's smaller from two ends going down versus up here. You know, they just focus on the layers and say, well, it's young. No, the reality of it is that you would have had to have had a river from this end all the way to the other side. So that would be the evidence for the flood, not this canyon part, right? How much water would you have needed to go through to cut this? This is where the river starts. So, I'm just a little unhappy about how they would represent that. Ice Age. You guys want to stay here overnight? Why not?
My scientific colleagues go to places like Greenland, Arctic, Antarctica, and they drill into the ice. And we pull out long cylinders of ice, long ice rods. And we find certain of these cylinders to have 680,000 layers. How could it be that just 4,000 years ago, all of this ice formed?
To moderate with Bill Nye only had a few seconds to respond to his claim about the so-called annual layers of ice. Refer to the last spot, which you can see in this diagram. During World War II, 8 planes, 2 B-17s and 6 B-38s, were on their way to Scotland via Iceland, but they had to turn back because of a storm. Now, they were running low on fuel, so the pilots had to make emergency landings on the ice in a remote area of Greenland. 4 of the pilots survived and were rescued 6 days later. The planes were eventually discovered in the 1980s under 250 feet of snow and ice, and amazingly enough, an expedition figured out how to bore a giant hole in the ice and bring up one of the P-38s piece by piece. That plane, now known as Glacier Girl, has been repaired and it was even flown from Kentucky to New Jersey in 2007. Now, while the details of this real-life adventure are fascinating, there's one crucial point that's often overlooked. Those planes were found under more than 250 feet of ice, less than 50 years after they landed. Yet Bill Nye and others want us to believe that every little ring they see in ice cores represents an annual layer. But these layers are formed every time the snow and ice thaw a bit and then refreeze, and they're often associated with different snowstorms, which of course can form many times in one year in Greenland. The 250-foot hole that was bored to reach the plane had far more than 50 of these so-called annual layers. But how could this be if the layers only form one per year? The truth is that these layers in the ice are not annual layers. So Bill Nye and others who push the idea of millions of years while talking about annual rings in ice cores are simply wrong. Furthermore, the 680,000 years that Bill Nye talks about don't even come from counting these so-called annual rings from an ice core in Antarctica, as Mr. Nye seemed to imply. The counting of these layers is actually done on the Greenland ice cores, and those cores show about 110,000. It's true that the area where the planes were discovered receives much more snow today than the central region of Greenland where the ice cores were taken from. But the conditions during the Ice Age that followed the flood would have led to heavier and more frequent snowfalls throughout Greenland. The amazing story shows us. Once again, we see
You'll note here that since it starts from year 1 to from Jesus' crucifixion, this is just an example of how climate will change over the course of 2,000 years.
Our little ice.
My scientific colleagues go to places like Greenland, Arctic.
We need another one of these. Things are getting a little too hot.
They said the sun's hitting its sunspots.
Okay, now go right over here. Well, good luck. Yeah.
But he doesn't show any.
Yeah.
And we only know of his. And we only know of his.
Yeah.
And we don't. And Kathy's. We don't know of any of this. They don't. I mean, it's not that they don't know about that.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 29, 30, 31. Yeah, they're all there. Oh, yeah. Probably show suggestions that the structures are either planned or built by aliens.
Oh, there was Kathy in that too.
You know, interesting. The Sumerian script is not related to. I'm sorry, cuneiform, not Sumerian. Cuneiform is not related to any language, living or dead. It's a rather weird fact. Now, that doesn't make it the language of Babel, but still interesting nonetheless that there could be such a thing as a language not related to any other languages. Certainly wouldn't help or harm the possibility. Technology does not equal intelligence. I guess that's technically true. We've got monkeys that keep using splits from rocks, so. These are a recreation of the walls from Sacsayhuaman. Yeah. This is why a lot of them, a lot of people like to mention this little mystery, because these, and they've got it recreated very nicely here. You
don't get the pock marks like you would.
Yeah. Well, you see, this is a pock mark.
Yeah, no, but
this is a pock mark.
But you also got the very fine ones as you get closer
right.
to the edge.
So, the mystery of Sacsayhuaman is that these stones are so fit tightly together that you can't fit anything there, and they cuff into each other. So when an earthquake happens, they sort of just fall back onto each other. It's an earthquake-proof wall, and it appears at a time where the Native Americans shouldn't have had said wall. So, how to get there. And this is what I keep mentioning to people. This is probably one of the better arguments, right? All around the world we see, and it's got a little map here of all the different ones. Pretty much the same story told over and over and over again. Obviously the details are different or fuzzy, but you get people are bad, things are about to get destroyed, guy builds a boat, he survives. You know, if it's just a made-up concept, the real question would be, why does it appear everywhere? You know? And here's a good example of the distance, too. You know, did the Norse and the Akkadians just happen to make up the same general myth? It's a little disingenuous, don't you think? We've even got a couple from Africa, so you know. Yeah.
Saying how the different shapes of boats.
No, sir. I like to see the cube. Gilgamesh.
Alright, so this one's using the argument that, yeah, with the design that we have from the Bible, it's got to be the most accurate version.
We tried to make a warship, Russians tried to make a warship that was circular thing. Oh, we have a circular form, we got the cannon point in the direction.
Yeah.
The river.
Now, what I frequently argue to my atheist contemporaries is in reality, it wouldn't really matter what type of. It appears in some versions. When you say Epic of Gilgamesh, you have to say which version. There's like 5 different versions.
The ones I've seen, they never mention how.
Yeah, the one where I think it's Umapishtan survives the flood and he becomes immortal. He sails it through a cube. Now I've always argued that really it wouldn't matter which version's accurate. What matters is that they all tell the same story, which is the more important part. Yeah, the boat one being able to survive is significant, yes, but not as significant as the other generalist conclusions. Right, so this is the Bible's explanation for the origin of the rainbow. Or, well, no. What's under the rainbow covenant? My bad. No flash photography. Well, good for me. I've just been running the recorder this whole time. Oh yeah, so this... Now the real question is it had got its thorns. It has the little crowns on it. It does not. Well, it's got both. So this is an example of a Torah scroll that's got both vowels on it, which is actually abnormal. You go look at any regular Torah scroll you find in a Jewish temple, none of them have vowels on it. As well as thorns. There's an interesting sentence structure here, though, and this is something that you don't get in the English version. The Hebrew version has these little spaces, and it's meant to invoke poetry. When you see this, you read it and you think, okay, this is supposed to be a poetic section of the text. But the English version doesn't translate these gaps, so that's only something you'll be able to see on a Hebrew Bible. These are Gospel Codex fragments. So this is written in Koine Greek, if I'm not mistaken, right? In Greek, but found in Egypt. Look how well preserved that is. And you can see that the early Christian authors would mimic what the original Jewish texts would do. They have poetic line spacing on them, and even this one bothers to accompany little images. So, you know, it's sort of a lost art in regards to biblical texts. Which one is this?
In Greek.
Psalms Codex page in Greek from the 200s AD. So early Christian church, pre-Catholic.
Hey, girl. What did you talk about?
And I'm starving.
Well, we'll eat our MREs when we're done, right?
Oh, of course.
Oh man, not bringing my backpack was a mistake. I'm actually getting kind of hungry. Never thought I'd want an MRE.
Oh wait, we can't go here. Just go back when we're done.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I got that.
We've screwed ourselves.
Wow.
Good job, us.
You too.
So Jake screwed us by not reminding us or being a little more forceful. Either way, it's Jake's fault.
It's Jake's fault.
Yep, you can't win. Just deal with it.
Okay.
Loser.
Accept it. And then have a
No responsibility.
Look at this old
have a full
English,
belly.
old English Bible. It's in English. Well, it's in Old English.
That's cool though.
Buy some of them, market some of them. Both of them. Private library, all that fun stuff.
So far, I've recorded for 1 hour and 30 minutes. This is gonna be a long video. Evangelical Lukaka in Arana paper, London and England. Ooh, how lovely.
I think this is Golden Mystic. They talk about this in Mystic.
I don't know. We'll have to do a goes on vacation Mystic Aquarium video, I guess.
That's very exciting. Buses are a lot of fun.
I mean, never went on it.
No worries.
Spirit of the rainforest. Let's see, how do you pronounce that? Yebada e ta'o.
This is from South America.
This might be made on the okay, that's what I'm
Where's Anthony? Oh, there he is. Always hopping ahead. Here we see some wicked miracle magic in the form of mirrors. Crazy. Well, it is a Christian institute, so obviously it's going to advocate for Christianity. Nothing wrong with that on a fundamental level. Yeah, my dad's gonna be disappointed. He's gonna be like, I told you to find someone and talk to them for proof of the... Well, I mean, we've got the Creation Museum, actually, so maybe we'll find someone.
Looks like I should have used a bigger cup. But you know what? That's just the Greek manuscript. When we count the other languages like Latin, Coptic, and Armenian, there's another 20,000 manuscripts.
This is the argument from historic citation, which is important.
As I mentioned earlier, critics and skeptics rarely question whether we have the original message of these writings, and yet they frequently attack the Bible on this point. You know, it really just shows their bias. But when we look at the evidence before us, we see that their arguments really don't amount to a being.
Well, I think the better argument, which isn't made in a lot of these circles, is that the Dead Sea Scrolls exist.
And you have the silver scroll that they found.
Yeah, the Kertolf Hermonim scroll.
Back.
Goes back to 600 BC, and it's practically unchanged. So, I mean, like, you know, the only real change we have is from Deuteronomy, I want to say, chapter... Right. I don't know that the chapter, it's one of the later chapters, and it's giving us the second account of the, come on Josh, think. It's giving us the second account of the Tower of Babel. Now the original Dead Sea Scroll reads, he divided the nations and account into the number of the sons of God. Whereas the modern Masoretic and Latin ones read Sons of Israel. So one change out of 6,000 years. I think we're pretty solid. Limestone found in Caesarea confirms the Yep, that's true. That was a huge finding when they found that one.
Oh, so.
No. As Earth excursion, what they're not telling you is that Earth's magnetic pole shifts, and every time it shifts, it refreshes.
Yeah.
So, based on decay, it's about to shift soon. Radiocarbon dating of fossil wood. Yeah, there's way more than that. There's inscriptions of King Hezekiah fighting off, or rather maybe paying his taxes. It's not entirely clear. There are actually a number of historical accounts for most of the kings of Israel and southern Judah. This is, of course, not including things like Abraham's grave, which we have. I mean, I'll understand if you choose not to believe that, but it's there. You can literally visit it. I mean, I'm sure they're correct that, like, you know, well, you can't confirm that that's them. Sure, I can't. But can you tell me what the statistical likelihood of finding 3 guys and 4 women in a grave that the Bible claims is there? Alright, boys, here it is. True history of the world. That's crazy. According to the young Earth creationist concept of things. So, yeah, typically when it comes to the young Earth interpretation, the number changes, but it's either 404 BC or like the 370s, one of them, 4200s, another one of them. You get things like Gobekli Tepe that kind of have issues with this, but it doesn't matter. At least not to people who think this way, and you think this way is whatever. See, they've got all the biblical figures here at the top. How long they lived. So, and then this is where like really established history starts to start, at least in their, you know, their interpretation of things. It's interesting that they end their genealogy here with the 12 tribes. Well, you can't. In reality, you can't. I mean, I can show you it. I decided to make one. It gets big. You need something way bigger than this in order to show all that. So, here we're at the year 4004, which is year 1 in the new calendar. There we go, the total end. Yeah.
So I don't think we have to keep.
Oh no, we're not even done with this place. You kidding me?
For the entire place? That's not bad.
Oh yeah, and then you cut it.